I will definitely want to take my leave. I have another assignment given to me. But before I leave, I thought I should bring one or two issues that is critical to what we're doing here. There has been this issue about this fuel subsidy. And the fuel subsidy is against a particular quantum of consumption in the country. As we speak, I'm not sure if Nigerians know what that quantum actually is. And if there is a figure, I'm not sure if Nigerians believe that figure. We're told at some times it's about 80 million. I think 2 days in the last 24 or 48 hours, I've seen a scroll bar saying the Nigerian, is it a midstream, downstream regulatory authority saying it's about 66 million, 60 something, okay? So that puts a huge question on this issue of the subsidy. Many Nigerians don't believe this subsidy is genuine. Many believe it to be a scam. And we are here talking about the budget, and we are seeing all the deficit that is actually threatening our capacity to even run this government. Honestly, we all have to sit down and have a rethink about this subject. How much do we actually consume? The way the scenario is given, I'm told, assuming without conceding that it is the 68 million, the last one given by those having that mandate. Daily, it presupposes I, Aliu Sabi Abdullahi, if I fuel my vehicle today, maybe 90 liter, the next day, I will fuel another 90 liter. Tuesday, 90 liter. Wednesday, 90 liter every day for 1 week. That is the assumption. The bulk of our people who are using vehicle, civil servants, how much do they consume? We know the pattern. Majority, when they fill their tank, except if you travel, if it's just to come to office and do your little runs, one full tank takes you to at least a week. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let's be real for ourselves. If some people have done something bad in the past and they got away with it, I think it's time we tell them no. Thank God the minister said business unusual scenario. Then business unusual dictates that we actually ask some critical question. That is the first one. Now, if we even know what it is, what is the impact on the subsidy? So that we can see this figure every day, every day. This is not something we should accept. Now, the other aspect is this. The figure about the oil, crude oil we produce. Yes, that is the main, source of revenue. Or is it the forex, as we call it. But the issue also is that there has been serious concern about how much is produced and loaded onto the ship that takes this crude outside. At least as at the last interactions I was privileged to be part of, it is clear to me that there is also a very huge fraud or scam taking place somewhere in that chain, from when we produce to when it is loaded. How much is loaded on our behalf is still an issue. And I think I recalled the hard days in which the Minister of Finance was in the extractive industry and the voluminous reports you normally send to Parliament for us to look at, and all the issues attending to that. So I think it's time for you to bring that wealth of experience to actually interrogate. Why should we have a system where we are not able to know the integrity from beginning to the end? Why? We are producing, yet we don't know how much is going out. That chain, there is integrity issue around there. And I think there is a lot of complicity among Nigerians that have been given the very single trust of maintaining that system for us, whether those of them in the oil industry or even those of them in the security agencies. There are a lot of issues there. And we cannot be talking about all of this when we are asking some people to tax others in-house, collect more money, and then the easy money that God has blessed the country with is just going the easy way into some other people's pockets, and we're seated here sweating and sweating daily to look at this issue. I thought I should bring that out because it's a very important issue if we must actually get it right. Now, the other last one I want to say here is, yes, we all agree Nigeria is a mono economy, Nigeria is this, Nigeria is that. What effort are we doing to diversify our economy? Because I'm aware for a fact that the pressure we are putting on importation, what effort are we doing to reduce certain things that we can actually produce here? Remember, President Muhammadu Buhari has already given a very, profound policy pronouncement. Let us consume what we produce and produce what we consume. To me, that is a very clear-cut diversification policy. But to what extent are we doing that? I believe we go a long way in helping us to reduce the pressure on what we import, and that way the pressure on the forex, if it is down, perhaps we will have more money to do so many things because the value of our currency will have made it much more stronger for us to be competitive. There are a lot of issues, I know, but one thing I'm sure of is Nigeria know they carry last. Nigerians will know they carry last. It is time for us to come first and put Nigeria first so that we can all get these things right. The issue of the insecurity is key. We've seen some very good work by our security agencies, but obviously from our engagement with them, there is still a lot more to be done, especially requiring even more financing. And here we are talking about huge deficits and so on and so forth. So, Mr. Chairman, I don't envy you, but I have confidence in your capacity and that of the members. And I know at the end of the day, when we'll be getting this report laid before the Senate, definitely we'll be having something that will make Nigeria to really get it right. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. 15.72. What's the effect of that? On the issue of the inflation, the projection is 13%, and as we speak, we are currently at 19.64%. The oil theft, I was told the NNPC are not here. I wonder why. Even though they are now PLC, they are still 100% owned by government. We have not seen any major investors stepping in. So all that still accrued to them belongs to the government until we start seeing major investors. And even if there are major investors, we still remain the largest shareholder. So they are still responsible to us, and they are to come and explain to us. We don't give that autonomy out just for them to be on their own, but rather to give them more freedom to operate as an entity, as we have in other parts of the world, like the Petrobras in Brazil. But when the parliament needs their attention, they have to be here. At this point in time, we need the attention of the NNPC, and as such, I hereby direct the committee to write that they appear here tomorrow unfailingly by 10 a.m. in the morning. So, Honorable Minister, having said that, I want you to look at the issue of trying to manage this oil subsidy. And we believe that it's no longer fashionable that as a country we continue to sustain this oil subsidy, looking at the humongous amount that is involved in this subsidy. Yes, in accordance with your scenario, you have said that scenario 2, we will retain this subsidy till June of 2023. And what happened after June of 2023, you are silent on that. Are we taking out the subsidy in its entirety, or we are just holding to 2023 June, and after 2023 we still continue? We want you to give us clarification on that. On the issue of your benchmark, $70 per barrel, and now we're on $73. Is there any changes? Is there any projection that says that the oil prices will dovetail further to the extent that we are using 70% as benchmark, or rather we go up so that we can free more revenue for the government and thereby reducing the deficit rather than keeping so much money in the excess crude oil account? I want you to explain that. And on the scenario 2 that was approved, I noticed that you emphasize on each more on the scenario 2, which placed emphasis on more disciplinary measure against the government-owned enterprise, which I'm in total in support of. But I think the scenario should start looking at an option that most of these agencies should be working more on cost of collection rather than collecting government revenue, spending everything and still wait on the budget to be approved. We have to devise a means where the scenario will capture that emphasis should be on cost of collection. So if we give you 10% of whatever you collect, if you want more money, you have to go out and do more work to bring in more money. Not that you set a budget target and haven't achieved the target, you still believe that you should be funded through the federal budget. This is one area we have to look at, and I noticed that the scenario is silent about that. On the issue of the budget deficit, though I'm seeing 11 point something trillion here, even though the real MTEP document is carrying 12.43 trillion, I want you to expatiate on that because it's a little bit scary that we have such a huge amount of money to be borrowed to finance a 19.6 trillion budget. And in line with that, we want you to speak to this committee knowing that the cost of servicing the debts alone will be taken up by the revenue that we'll be using to augment the 19.6 trillion budget. So what does the future have for the capital projects and also cost of running the government? So we want you to also, let's look at that. And also, though we have an options that we'll discuss with you on reducing this so-called deficit, I strongly feel that more responsibility to be given to revenue generating agencies. We need to cut down this deficit. We will not be looking at this 12.43 trillion. We give more revenue targets to most of our revenue generating agencies. This is one area in which we should look at. And if there is need to support them to achieve their revenue target that will be set, I think it will not be a bad idea so that to reduce the cost, the deficit. On the issue of the performance of the non-oil revenue, I want us to also expatiate on that, even though we have more than 3/4 of them here today who are started with the responsibility of bringing this revenue. What can be done, and what are your expectations in line with what we are doing as a committee and as a National Assembly? The level of compliance of so many of these agencies is not encouraging at all. So what can be done, and what are your take on all of this? While trying to put together information or answers to that, I will allow the Controller General of Customs. Yes. Okay. The representative